Good morning. Welcome to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. Gary Demas, president of Dave Fox Design Builder Remodelers, and glad that you're all aboard the show this morning. And I've got Jamie here, of course. Jamie Broslovsky, our marketing director. So, Jamie, last week we had kind of an interesting talk, didn't we?
We did. We were talking about fun little features.
Yeah, fun features.
Fun features.
Fun features.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We got another good one today.
Right. What is
a big one.
What is it?
Do's and don'ts of remodeling.
Okay. Good.
So,
we're going to focus on the do's or the don'ts?
Well, we'll try and, be equal here. But
okay. Equal time.
Yeah, probably some more do's than don'ts.
You don't like the the glass is half full point of view. You'd rather go with the glasses right in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So let's see. By the way, happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. Today is Valentine's Day, and I hope that all you men did everything you're supposed to do.
That's right.
Right?
Yes. Everyone get their flowers or chocolates.
Okay.
Or at least just remember to say Happy Valentine's Day.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Okay. And let's see.
And President's Day tomorrow, so probably no school for most.
Tomorrow,
yeah.
Okay, so no school, but we will be in the office working away.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, so again, welcome to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, and today, do's and don'ts of a remodeling project. If you ever want to reach us here, you can email. It's really easy, info@davefox.com. You can, of course, go to our website, davefox.com, and there we have a ton of information about remodeling, the process, a lot of photographs of pictures, a lot of photographs and pictures, okay?
Yeah.
We don't have any photographs of pictures, but we have a lot of photographs.
Yeah, we actually also now have a really cool added function on our website. There's a chat function, so you'll see a little bubble pop up in the bottom left there, and you can text with Melissa, and if you have any questions or having a trouble navigating the website and want to find something, you can just shoot her a little message and she'll help you out.
So what if it's like 11 p.m.?
At 11 p.m., you'll get an automated response.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So during our office hours, if you're on there and kind of have a question, she'll respond right away. If not, if it's outside of our office hours, she'll respond as soon as she's back in the office or during office hours.
Yeah, I always wonder when you see those chat things, is it an AI, artificial intelligence thing? Is there really a live person?
Yeah.
There's always a picture of some beautiful person there, and, whether it's male or female, and you think, is that the real person I'm talking to, or did they just find this picture somewhere?
In our case, it really is a picture of Melissa.
Okay, great. Okay,
she
so
really
there you
is
go,
that
folks.
beautiful. She's real. She's
great.
In our office.
All right. So if you want to chat with Melissa, just go to davefox.com.
Yes.
And there we go.
Yeah, perfect.
You can also go to davefoxradio.com. And what can people find there, Jamie?
They can find all of our old broadcasts. So today's show will be there, last week's show, etc. And then any shows that we do have videotaped, you'll also have a link to be able to watch it from there or go to the YouTube channel to see it.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the do's. Okay, some important things to do when you're thinking about or when you're doing a remodeling project.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
What stage are the do's at here?
What stage are the do's?
One is right at the very beginning, right?
Yes. Start with a clear vision.
Okay, so how do you get that clear vision?
Well, I think one step that's really important is to write down kind of your must-haves. Write down your must-haves, your wants, your needs. Kind of prioritize your list of all of those. Even before you reach out to maybe a contractor or something like that, you really need to have an idea of what's your end goal here. Is it just you want more space because you want more space? Is it because, every year when Aunt Sue comes, she gives you a hard time about that corner of your house? I don't know. But just having a clear vision of kind of why you're doing whatever change you're doing and what your goal is to gain out of it.
One of the first things we ask a new client, someone calling in, is we want to know how long they've been in their home. Because that says a lot. If someone just bought the house the week before, or maybe they've just finalized the paperwork but haven't moved in yet and have ideas, then we really want to be cautious along the planning stage, because really I think living in a house a year, you really get to feel the feel for how the floor plan's working for you, your lifestyle, your family. And you run into things that you may not think of, if you've only been in a home a short time. So if you've been in a house a while, you know what the problems are. You know what you need to fix.
Yeah.
If you've just moved in, you can obviously see some things that you just really know that you want to change. But you need to just take a pause and really think things through and pay attention to how your family is living in the home to develop really your clear vision.
Yeah, I mean, I would be especially cautious if it was your first home. If you've never owned a home or lived in a full home and came from an apartment, things like that. Or, we've had clients that move from a city, like if they're moving from New York City and this is their first time having a sprawling house, you live a lot differently in a sprawling house. I remember we had friends visit from New York, and they just couldn't get over our pantry.
Yeah.
What could you possibly need all this food for?
No.
All the time. It's just like the concept of we just hold on to more stuff because we have the room for it. And it was just a really funny concept to them. They're like, we don't even have a pantry. We just keep a couple things in the top cabinet, and then you go to the grocery store again when those things are out. It was just funny, but they might build a house or renovate a house and not think to put in a pantry.
Yeah.
And little do they know how much it would change their lifestyle.
I know, and I think everyone, when COVID, a couple times during COVID, when grocery store shelves were kind of bare, that was kind of a frightening sight.
It was very frightening.
Did you even go in a grocery store then, though?
Well, so our situation is so different because we had Emma, our youngest, on the 9th of March. And then, so that was a Wednesday, or Wednesday, I don't know what day of the week. Anyways, Thursday was the 11th, and we got home from the hospital that day. And then the news came on that schools were closing, and that was when everyone went like mad rush to the grocery store. We had Thursday morning, before we left the hospital, put in a grocery order on our phones, just like a Kroger click list, or it was a Kroger delivery, whatever. And we filled out to just like our standard stuff, because we'd been in the hospital a few nights. We're going to have a newborn at home, just, the standard stuff that you kind of need. Had no idea the world was about to come crashing down on us. Yeah. So by time we picked a delivery time of that evening, like 7 p.m., I think, because we knew we'd be home and everything. And, a lot changed in those hours from when we set the grocery to when, and we kept getting these notifications, out of that item, out of that item, out of that item, out of that item. We're like, what is happening? And so, long story, but my husband ended up running out at 11:30 at night to 3 different grocery stores just to find milk.
Yeah.
So that at least the kids could have cereal.
It's a scary thing because in my lifetime, I don't ever remember seeing that.
No.
Just walking in a grocery and seeing the shelves practically bare, and you couldn't really get the things that you wanted. So since then, we've been stocking up some more, just like you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so starting with a clear vision is important, and having the time to do it. And I think another thing is really working with an experienced person to help you. Because as I was mentioning last week, Jamie, we've been through so many different scenarios with so many different clients, and we, as design consultants, learn a lot through that process of just walking people hand in hand through their project and finding out the obstacles and the things that they run into that surprises them, because we don't like our clients to be surprised, and we want to be able to kind of forewarn them. And we try the best that we can. We're not perfect at it, but we give it a good try.
Another thing about Columbus is so many of the floor plans in certain cities are very similar, if not the same. So, we might walk into a house and we've remodeled that house several times. And so, that comes with a lot of insight and a lot of ideas and finding a contractor, I think, too, that you can trust. We're not in people's homes for a day or two. We're in people's homes for a month or two or more.
And we become part of the family, actually.
Yes, we actually plan on having our morning coffee with you and bring the paper in the morning. Everyone gets their jobs. We get a chore chart. But
we help bring the groceries in.
Yeah, I mean, we really become embedded in the family for that period of time. And so the trust in the relationship is so important. And so, you always hear that everyone says this, get 3 quotes, meet with 3 people, that kind of concept. And it's really comes down to trust.
Yep. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. And we're back, the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, Jamie and Gary. And today is Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. I hope it's a great day for you. And tomorrow's President's Day, so some of you get to have a day off, and others of us will be working in the office, just like
That's
normal.
right, yeah.
Okay, so we are talking about the do's and don'ts of a remodeling project and just things to consider while you're thinking about remodeling, or maybe you're starting into a project.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last segment, Jamie, we talked about starting a clear vision for any listeners that just tuned in. What's another one?
We were talking about trust and, just making sure you do the right thing. So another really big thing that we always do and handle in-house is getting permits needed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, especially do-it-yourselfers, things like that, or we'll try and find just a guy in a truck who will do a project for them without pulling permits, because you can save a little bit of money here and there, but in the long run, you're only going to hurt yourself and your house. So I think that's a definite do, is to pull any permits that are needed or
Mm-hmm.
suggested and required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. You can have a very skilled craftsperson that may do the project just terrific, whether
Mm-hmm.
there's permits or not. Maybe that person's level of quality and detail and his safe thoughts are higher than an inspector might look at. Maybe. But the safe part of it is when it's gone through the proper legal process and you have permits and it's all documented. If you ever have any insurance claims that become significant, that's an important factor
Mm-hmm.
to think about. And the fact that you do have professional building examiners looking at the process, and it's a second set of eyes. It's good for us. I mean, sometimes people are surprised if we fail an inspection, maybe an electrical inspection or an insulation inspection or structural, and you think, oh my gosh, you guys have been doing this for years. How could you fail an inspection?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a lot easier than you can imagine, because the codes change all the time, and different examiners have different ideas of how they interpret the code. And when we fail something, it's going to be honestly some nitpicky thing that inspector he's got a little thing about how he wants something wired, and we have to change it. So that happens. We don't get failed because the house is going to fall down or something like that. But we jump through those hoops. It's important. But getting permits is definitely an important thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think kind of along with that goes with the preparing for any unforeseens or unexpecteds.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to happen. We live in a world of remodeling that we know that they're going to happen, and we're emotionally prepared for them. But I think it's really important that the clients and homeowners are emotionally prepared for the unforeseens that are most likely going to happen. I mean, at some point, it's very seldom we have a job that just goes absolutely perfect with remodeling.
Okay, so Jamie, if we were doing a huge remodel for you, how emotionally prepared would you be if we ran into, let's say we open a wall up and there's all this heating duct work that's going to throw a monkey wrench in the whole plan, and we couldn't see it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So here we are, we open it up, you find this big thing that's going to mess up your floor plan.
Yeah.
Could you handle that emotionally?
Probably not, if I were to be honest. But I think sometimes, going into it, I would be very understanding of unforeseens that impact the budget, knowing that there's probably going to be an unforeseen, and leaving kind of withholding some of my budget for those unforeseens, I think is important. But like you said, when things unforeseens happen and change the design, I think those are emotionally a lot harder to come around. One project comes to mind for me that we did in Dublin several years ago, and kind of like what you mentioned, unforeseen, we thought this post was going to be able to be removed. turns out we couldn't, or it would be cost prohibitive, whichever the case was. And they had to redesign and ended up needing to have a post come through their kitchen. They did an expansion and it was going to need to come through their kitchen. And the thing that's so great about having a design team is even if you're emotionally distraught by it and kind of clouded judgment and just upset, your design team isn't. They're not as emotional about that because they've seen it so many times. They're prepared for it. They know how to handle it. And so they were able to come up with this really cool design and made this beam a kind of surrounded in reclaimed wood coming through the kitchen. And it is like the best feature of the kitchen. And even the client said, I actually love this post in the end. And it's just funny because I think the homeowners are so emotional about that type of design change and kind of what they're envisioning, and they get their heart set on things, and they've spent all this months planning. But our team is there to handle those emotions and kind of help you guide through them and things like that. So that's important, especially I know I wouldn't handle that well. So for me, having a company or a team would be really important. Whereas if I were a do-it-yourselfer and came across that, I think I'd quit. So I know that about myself, so I don't think I should ever be a do-it-yourselfer.
House for sale, as is.
Yeah, as is, house for sale, I'm out. Good luck.
Yeah. The unforeseen things, that's one of the big differences between remodeling and new construction. Because when you're building a house from scratch, there's nothing unforeseen unless when you're digging the foundation, you run into something. But when you're building the home, everything is predetermined and it's all laid out and you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and most of the time it's been built 3 other times at least,
Right, yeah, you could probably walk in that floor plan somewhere else and evaluate it. But in remodeling, what I've learned over the years is you can never assume anything, and I mean nothing. When we're adding an addition to a home, you've got the roof lines, overhangs, gutter lines, floor levels, all those things to consider so that our new addition is going to meet up with the house. And I found ways that roofs were framed that I never thought was imaginable, so it affected the way we tied into that. Or, removing walls and stuff, mechanicals that you may run into. There's always things that are unforeseen. And we try, having been in this business a long time, we really try to forewarn our clients as much as we can, but there's times that we even get surprised.
Yeah, I think I think there's not a good way to emotionally prepare for those things, but just continuously reminding yourself that something's going to happen and it's okay. Especially when you have found the right contractor that you can trust, just trust them. You have to just kind of relinquish a little control and trust in the process, as long as you chose properly. Yeah,
true. Okay.
But so another do that I like to bring up is to be bold in some ways. And a lot of do's and don'ts lists with remodeling, they tell you to be safe, which is smart, and we've talked about this before, where it's really smart to be safe with maybe some of the bigger items like your cabinetry, things that are going to be there for decades. But maybe a backsplash or maybe even your hardware, things like that. It's okay to be bold because if you're safe with everything, you got to have an element that you love too. So instead of just playing it safe, just kind of making sure you take a little bit of risk, I think is important. And it's fun and it brings you joy every day. I always love hearing from our clients about kind of that one thing like, oh, I was really hesitant to do that. And I'm so glad I did. Yeah. I hear that almost every photo shoot I go on. I hear that about something, and it's usually the spot that they took that little risk. So I think that's an important do.
Great point. What's another one?
All right. So pick your appliances first. I always hear our interior designers talking about this. So we can talk more about that after the break.
And you're listening to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, and I'm Gary Demas. And Jamie, right before the break, so today we're talking about the do's and don'ts of a remodeling project, right?
That's right.
So we're still on the do's. We need to get to some don'ts.
Yes.
Probably this segment.
Yeah.
Maybe. But you had a good do before that you got cut off on, so let's take that one away.
Yes, picking out appliances first. It's not something that you always think about ahead of time, especially with a kitchen remodel. But the interior designers have taught me over the years the importance of that, not only for, there's all these different pipe sizes and different needs for different appliances, and getting it all squared away before you start the construction, and how important that is. Also, just how much it impacts the cabinet design. Do you want to order your appliances to be panel ready, meaning that they have kind of that matching cabinet face on them to the rest of your cabinetry? Kind of knowing all that so early in the process can be hard, but it's really important, and it's an important do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you were wanting to, let's say, prepare yourself for that, how would you go about like looking at examples so that you could see what's out there and decide what you like?
Yeah, well, obviously the internet is a great place to start. Houzz is good, Pinterest, our website, those types of things. But then you really need to go touch and look and see and talk about the features and how you use the appliances. I think is really important. Ferguson is a great place to go look at appliances. They just opened up a new showroom on Polaris. And then also Jack's Appliances is another great company that we work with. And then custom distributors, if you're looking for that higher end kind of Wolf Sub-Zero line of cabinetry, they're wonderful as well. But you definitely want to go and talk to someone who knows about the features, and that you can tell, this is the way I cook, and this is kind of what I want, and they can help guide you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's really true that it's very helpful to know ahead of time what you want in terms of appliances, because it has so much to do with your kitchen layout. The size of your refrigerator, the size of your cooktop, ovens. You want 2 wall ovens. You want a under the counter oven. There's so many different things to think about, which really affects the layout of the kitchen. Yeah. So that will help speed up your design process.
Yeah. Okay, we got to start cranking through these here.
Yeah.
We're getting behind on our list.
Okay.
All right. So another good one, rule of thumb, is to order the suggested amount of waste on materials. A lot of times, when you're going to order, if you're doing a do-it-yourself project and you go to order tile, they usually have a suggested amount overage to order for cuts and things like that. And it's really common to think, I don't need that much. I'm gonna be really careful and not to order that suggested amount. Sometimes it's 20% more or whatever, and you want to save that little bit of money. But definitely just go ahead and order the suggested amount of waste. I think there's probably a lot of good stories out there about people that didn't. I
have so many stories myself. I can think, and you would be amazed at how many times you can order a product. Maybe it's a ceramic tile floor or porcelain tile floor or hardwood floor, whatever. And you order it, and then 3 weeks later you need to order a couple more pieces, and it's gone. And there's none to be found, because these companies, they will, even when they discontinue something, they don't let anybody know until they've emptied their warehouses.
Sure.
So then when the warehouse is empty, that's when they tell you it's no longer available.
Yeah.
And that happens. And, it's interesting. Clients will, when we've got material left over, in their mind they're thinking, I paid for something that didn't get used. I wonder if I get a, rebate for that.
Yeah.
But then, if we run short and can't find it, it's like, why didn't you order extra?
Well, the other thing too, again, that the interior designers have drilled in my head is it's not even just if it really run out, but the color pattern. It's
the dye lot.
Yeah, the dye lot. It's not guaranteed to be the same run through run. So even if you run out or you didn't order enough, and you go to order that same exact tile from the same exact place, if it's a different dye lot, it can really look quite different, which is amazing. But and you might not notice it otherwise, but when they're next to each other, you sure will. So another good do is to stay true to your home.
Okay, so after this do, let's get into some don'ts. I want to do some don'ts.
So negative.
Okay.
But you really want to stay true to your home. So if you're in a 1960s built home and you're only remodeling your kitchen, you don't want it to feel like it was in a time warp and the rest of your house got stuck behind. So you want to make sure you're keeping true to the character, keeping true to some of the features and colors so that it still flows and looks cohesive in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some safety in working with a good interior designer to help you do that, but still maybe do some special things that you want to do. Because you can, blur the lines a little bit to add, some special elements. But a good designer will help make sure that it does just what you said, that it stays true to your home.
Yeah, absolutely. And by no means do I mean that you can't have the modern day appliances and things like that. One thing that makes me think of my son, he learned about churning butter at school.
Oh.
And he came home, he goes, "Did you used to churn butter as a kid?" I'm like, "Are you kidding? No."
Yeah, back in the old days, absolutely.
I'm like, how old do you think I am?
The horse and the cow and all that, yeah.
I was so offended.
Yeah.
But all right, some don'ts. So don't expect what you see on TV.
Why do you say that?
This is a big one.
Don't we do our kitchens in 1 week?
We do not.
Oh, okay.
No, we do not. We don't do them in a week, and they tend to cost more than $8,000, things like that you see on TV.
Oh.
But yeah, that's a common misconception, especially in this HGTV age. But yeah, definitely don't expect what you see on TV. That's a big one. And don't underestimate the stress. You know, we talked about this with the unforeseens and unexpected, to be aware of them, but also don't underestimate them. You know this is going to be a trying time for you and your family. You're going to be living through construction most likely, if you stay in the home. And, we have an emotional roller coaster that we share with clients that kind of shows them the stages of emotions that they will go through. And, people will be, I'll be fine, and things like that. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to tell clients, and I do, because what I typically tell clients is this is going to be a long, hard process. And you are going to be so sick of us, and you're going to want us out of your house. Because I've done major remodeling on every house I've lived in. And I know what to expect. I've lived through it, and I still hate going through it.
Yeah.
Right? So there's parts of it that are just plain not fun.
Right.
Yeah. But the reward at the end makes it worth it all. I
know. It's so true, because throughout a project, they can't wait for us to be done. And then almost every review we get back, we miss you.
Yeah.
They end up missing us in the end. But it is true. It's not a easy process to live with construction in your home. It's not easy. But another good don't is don't risk it with a do-it-yourself. So kind of know your limitations. If you are pretty handy and have done a lot of work and kind of know the ropes around a hammer, things like that, okay, maybe you could do some modest things. But if you've never swung a hammer, I wouldn't recommend taking on a full kitchen remodel, especially one that you're moving plumbing and things like that. So really don't risk it with being a do-it-yourselfer. Otherwise, that as is house for sale sign's going to go out real quick.
House for sale as is.
Yes. But another good don't is don't make a lot of changes along the way. I think if you can avoid them, we're obviously always accommodating to when a client changes their mind. But you have to understand, too, that the more you do that, the longer your project is going to take. And honestly, more that can go wrong. So if you decide, what, I do want to do tile up this whole wall, and it's after we, finished whatever, things like that. Not only do you run into issues with ordering the tile, and it maybe being a lead time, but then also getting the sub back out there if all the other tile work's already been done. So you're kind of digging a bigger hole than you realize sometimes.
Okay, I got a few comments to add to that right after the break. Okay, Jamie, so right when we ended the last segment, you were talking about don't make a lot of changes, right?
That's right.
Okay, well, I can tell you from working with a lot of different people is that depends so much on the person. Because some people go into a project, they are so prepared and have thought things out so well that they can end up going through a whole major project with a very few changes. Now, that's kind of rare, but that can happen.
Yeah.
But there's other people who can do what they feel is a lot of preparation and get ready, but then as it's unfolding and as they see it, they can't help themselves. They're going to make changes.
Yeah.
They're just going to make changes. No matter how much you warn them or tell them, oh, this job is going to go so much quicker if you don't make any changes, they'll say, okay, but they'll get into it and they will make a ton of changes. So the only thing I can say is, if you're that person, that's okay, but you have to manage your expectations.
Yes.
And you have to realize that's going to cost more time. we are perfectly willing, and we handle many clients that way, and it delays the process.
Yeah.
And we have to send material back and get something different. That just happens with some people, and we're not blaming the person. All I want to say is, if you are that person, you know you are, it's okay, but just understand there's going to be delays.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be happy with the delays, but we're doing the best that we can.
Yeah, or if, you're trying to get a remodeling project done before, your baby comes or before Thanksgiving or something like that, keep that in mind, that this change is okay, but your end date is going to move.
Yeah.
That's kind of inevitable with it.
Kind of on that same line of thought is with COVID, when that first hit, we let our clients decide whether they wanted us to pull off the job or not. So the ones that asked us to pull off and wait, obviously their projects were delayed a lot. And at the end, it took a lot longer, and they weren't happy with that.
No, I know.
They were not happy with it. And they said, well, we understand COVID, but, it took way too long, blah, blah, blah. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it is. And that's okay, But if possible, try not to go into it with the intention of not making changes.
Yeah, make an appointment with Jamie. She'll help talk you through that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Another good one is don't sacrifice function for form. So meaning make sure, those design kind of guidelines and things that our interior designers follow and things like that. There are times that you can break the rules, but for the most part, they're there for a reason. The work triangle in a kitchen, it's there for a reason. So even if you really want this design element, you might need to compromise it a little bit, but you really want to make sure that the function is winning there.
When we're interviewing interior designers, and the interview process, I think at our company is pretty difficult. We've got a great culture, and we try to protect that. So any new job hire has to interview with all the managers present. So there's 7 of us.
Yes, we're very intimidating.
Well, I don't think we are, but the interviewees do.
Yeah, right? I know. But we have a great time.
Yeah, we do. But one of the things I always want to know is, I'll ask them, now how would you handle a client that is bound and determined to do something, but for a fact that it's not the best thing for them? What are you going to do? Are you just going to be quiet and let them go ahead and do it? Or are you going to, what's your reaction going to be? So it's interesting to hear them talk about that. But the answer I want to hear, in case you're thinking of applying for that position here, is that you're a professional, you're trained, you've lived through a lot of these experiences, and it's their home. Yes, you understand that, but you want to make it clear that you feel this is not going to be the best outcome for them, and here's the reasons why. So after that's done, I think we just need to make the client aware, and then truly it is their home, and we respect that, and they can override us, but sometimes we even make them sign a waiver saying we don't really recommend this, but you've decided you want to do it. Because what happens after we do it, then they're mad when they find out it's not the right thing, and they want us to change it, and they think it's our fault. So.
Yes, our managing emotions is really the underwriting of all of our job titles.
Exactly.
At our company, but
sure.
It kind of goes with the territory. Another really good one on the don't list is don't disregard the importance of lighting. Lighting is amazing. I mean, even just lighting alone can completely change a space. And change the colors in a space. It changes the mood. It can change so much about a space. So I think that's, we talked about last show, kind of the technology with lighting and things that are out there, and that there's not a ton of interest in that yet. But I think lighting is under-spoken of, in design, in a way.
So remember when I was talking last week about the heated floors in the bathrooms, and how if you have any inclination that you may want to do it, do it. Don't even think anymore. Just do it. Well, I think it's the same way with lighting. A lot of people, like I'm this way. I'll think, well, heck, just turn a light on. If I can see to walk around the house without falling over something, I'm fine. No, that's not the truth. Lighting can be expensive to do it well, but you need a lot of different methods of lighting a room.
Yeah.
There's so many different uses of lighting. And you want to have options on how you light a space depending on what you're doing there.
Yeah.
So the time of day, the activities going on, a real well-designed and engineered lighting layout is going to have a lot of different capabilities and options. And you have to live in a space like that compared to a space that doesn't have it to really appreciate the value of that. And it really is worth the extra expense to really have a good lighting package.
Yes, lighting is very important. Our first house we lived in was built in like the 1950s, I think, and it didn't have any ceiling lights other than it had one in the dining room, I think. But that was the only ceiling light in the house. Everywhere else we had to have lamps. And oh my gosh, when we moved to our new house, I was like, just put lights everywhere, like 10 can lights, every room. I'm like, I wanted so much lighting because it was so dark. I hated it. But yeah, lighting is a huge thing. So definitely. Another one for the don't list is don't focus more on the resale than you do on your own personal style and needs. And we kind of talk about this a lot and how, especially with basements, people tend to be really good at this. They tend to really focus on their personal wants and needs and kind of have a little fun and things like that. And then for some reason, you get upstairs, people get a little caught up in that resale value.
I think there's one time when it's okay to do that, and that is if you're planning on selling your house. And you're just fixing it up to sell.
Yes.
Okay, now, those people aren't coming to us.
No.
Okay? Because we're remodeling for people that love their homes. They want to do a really nice job. They want good design. They're going to live with it for years. And that's our client. Our client is not the person that's flipping a house that wants, a kitchen done, in a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but, for our typical client, that's so true. I mean, you really want to work with our designers and let them give you what's right for you and your family, period.
Yes.
They're not going to let you make a big mistake that's going to ruin your house and knock $50,000 off the value. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's so true.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's end on a positive.
Okay.
On a do.
All right.
Okay.
The half is glass full.
Yes.
The glass is half full. I think I'm Lex Dixie, actually.
So you do want to develop a during construction living plan. I think that's important to kind of think through. Like, okay, if I have to live without my kitchen for this many weeks or months, kind of where am I going to set up a temporary refrigerator? Where are we going to cook? How are we going to do that? Kind of thinking through that part of the process to help again with those emotions of getting through the project and getting through the remodel. So I think that's an important do before you start any remodeling project is kind of making that during construction living plan. And in some cases that might mean moving out of the house. But that's a big one.
Right. Okay, Jamie, this has been fun. We appreciate everybody that's tuned in this morning. We're here every single Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, and we'll be back here next Sunday morning. So we'll see you all then.